Erika, so you say that Garcel wasn't interesting. But what exactly did you give that was interesting? What did you give? Your usual coming after something like you always do? I mean, back in the day, honey, we called that a one trick pony. Aside from that, what else did you give? But we'll get into it. Anyways, what's going on, y'all? It's your girl Taina B here, and welcome to my chat party. I'm so glad that you guys can join me to hear my little thoughts, my little opinions, my little views on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 14 Reunion Part 1. Okay? For those of you who will join in on my party and show up for a little bit, a lot of bit, fashionably early, fashionably late, I appreciate you so much. To my people who always show out on that dance floor, that showed out on my last video, you know who you are and you know what the love is. Every word that I give you, I promise you, I appreciate from the bottom of my heart. So thank y'all so much. I hope and pray that you'll continue to bring it because I love what you bring. You know, you guys always hit me with some great food for thought or just some super funny laughs or just some wonderful support. And I appreciate that more than words can really express. You know, it's crazy sometimes too how you'll get so much love from people you don't know as opposed to the ones you actually do. But that's why I think it hits even more for me. So again, know that y'all are so appreciated. For those of you who will join my VIP guest list by subscribing, okay? Thank you in advance. For y'all who have been holding me down and are still subscribed and still part of the list, I thank y'all so much. And then for the ones, you know, who even just want to hit the like button, right? You're like, I ain't trying to do all that and get on the dance floor, not just yet. Okay, I need a little bit more, or that ain't my thing. Thank you so much for even taking the time to do that. Okay. Well, we got to go ahead and get into this thing because you know I'm about to run my mouth and I got quite a bit to say. Okay. So, with that being said, I'll say from times past, most YouTubers get into the fashion of it all. And I don't know if they did, you know, this go round or not, because when I tell you, I didn't watch not a nail one review. Even one of my favorites I couldn't do. Sometimes I saw the titles and I was like, yeah, nope, we ain't on the same page. And that's okay. But, you know, I love you and I'm just going to keep it pushing until I can join in and listen in on something else. And so, with that being said, I kind of missed the opportunity to see, you know, what they would think of the fashions of it all. I'm not really going to get into that because I'm not one to dissect piece by piece, but I'll keep it very light and say that Garcelle was my number one. Okay. My number one, because she was the only one, honey, that was giving what the girls couldn't dare and absolutely did not give. All right. And I said, listen, wait to make an exit. Okay. When you see them or when they see you walking out, okay, walking away from behind, let them see you walk. Now that's a walk, girl. And that dress, I absolutely loved it on her. I said, let them remember, okay? They ought not forget your powerful exit. All right. You look good doing it. And we ain't even get to that part yet. All right. And then for me personally, my second favorite was Sutton. I felt like she gave soft and pretty prom like beauty, you know, very gentle, very safe. But again, you know, just better than everything else I saw because everything else for me was either an absolute no or a very basic or what in the Chiquita banana is going on here. Okay. So, anyways, moving on. We do see as they're preparing to get geared up, they're seated on the stage, but haven't quite, you know, gotten into the conversation of it yet and the informalities or formalities that Garcelle is referencing the fact that she notices that Kyle has this energy towards her to where she knows she's not feeling her. Like, oh, here we go. Okay, she's not happy with her. And I also said, why wasn't Sutton in the first seat? Okay, why wasn't Sutton in the first? Like, I just don't understand, but I kind of do, right? I don't even want to speak on the Dorit of it all because I guess she was the second thing to quote unquote give for the season. But first and foremost, I don't know. I mean, I guess the Kyle of it all because Kyle has been here so long and maybe just this whole Mo and her situation since we've known Mo to be a part of the show for a while was a big thing, but not for some of us, you know, so whatever, it is what it is. And I also said, why are we starting off with Dorit's corn muffin meal package? Okay, I was bored before it even began, but I'm like, child, okay, here we go. So, of course, we're reminded of how in love her and PK were and where they are now. And did y'all catch in the flashback? Because I definitely missed it when it aired. Mauricio asked PK what happened with him and Dorit, and he was like, I got sober. I was like, well, damn. Okay. I was like, that's pretty deep. Because, in other words, you've been masking the mess with alcohol. And now, once you're awakened, you aren't feeling what you've awakened to. You feel like you're in some straight Twilight Zone type stuff. I said, oh, wow. That says a lot. And so PK apparently was asked to attend the reunion but declined. And however, he did provide a statement that was very telling to me. I thought it was very well put together also because it gave us, I'm gonna give y'all a little something to let you know it ain't all good, but I'm not gonna embarrass this lady totally because she still is my ex-wife, particularly first and foremost the mother of my kids. And if her and I are gonna get into it, we'll try to keep that behind the scenes, but all is not well in the land, okay? And he let us know that there was a lot of like she had made several, and I can't forget the M word he used, y'all. Dang it, tell me in the comments what the M word was. It wasn't misconduct. I don't she just she pretty much made false statements about him and particularly about him being a bad dad. Pretty much lied. I'll just say, just told a bunch of lies. Okay. And he also said that she's changed. He don't know who this lady is. Okay. He knew the old Dorit to be all these wonderful things, but he don't know who this is. Okay. Kyle says she didn't recognize her either and that she seemed more angry and aggressive. And I was like, oh, really? Because meanwhile, when Sutton said to Dorit earlier in the Sutton, you're not angry with me. You're just angry at your life. Apparently, that was like one of the worst things she could have said. Meanwhile, to me, it's pretty much falling right in line with the statement that Kyle just made. But we know the double standard, right? So I'm not going to even sit up here and pretend or act like I don't know what type of time we on. But sidebar, did y'all peep how robotic Erika was? Like those first few minutes? I was like, yo, what in the AI is going on here? She just I'm like, girl, are you okay? It's all well. What is going on? Did you take something? That to me was very much what it was giving. And I'm not trying to honestly assault her in that sense. Maybe she did take some type of relaxing anecdote of some sort so that she can keep herself composed and together for the reunion. But it was just giving a little weird for me and distracting. She was almost like she was a mannequin that was being moved in those moments. But whatever the case, could just be me being overly dramatic, but that's what my lens saw. And so Dorit and Kyle and Sutton were going back and forth about the PK-esque stuff of it all. I could care less. If you didn't see it, trust me, you ain't missed much of anything. And she pretty much lets Andy know that her heart is broken into a billion pieces, right? On a more exciting note, did y'all see the Name 'em commercial with Sutton? I was like, yay! I loved it because y'all know that is my signature statement from her. So I'm so glad they turned it into a commercial. And I'm sure they've done other things with that. I'll have to look it up and see. And the lady that was in the commercial with her, I've seen her face a couple of times. I'm so mad that I don't know her name. Um, I definitely want to say she's well known, but I can particularly remember her from hosting one of the panels one year at BravoCon, and she seems to have like a lot of personality. She might have been on Watch What Happens Live before too, but anyways, it was just a cute little quick commercial. But Kyle was just itching, I feel like, and daydreaming, okay, to be on that couch with the other ladies. Did y'all see that? Because they had like a quick little break again before they got started. And she's just sitting there like, I wish I could be over there. You could tell she was just so disconnected from Sutton and Garcel. But anyway, so now at this point, we get into Bose's package, right? Thank goodness for Andy saying what I've also been saying, which is that Bose comes across as someone who does her homework and doesn't seem to show up unprepared. So he asked her if she'd watched the show prior to joining. And she said yes. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way you could have watched this franchise. Oh, not franchise, but this city of ladies, or you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way you could have watched Beverly Hills before. I said, and you decided to team up with who you teamed up with after watching and didn't even flinch doing it? Girl, you couldn't have watched. You must have skipped through a lot of parts. And then I thought about it and I said, well, then again, she comes from the corporate world, right? And you definitely have to be strategic there. So maybe she saw what was sadly mistaken to be Dorit and Erika as the popular girls and figured that's who she connect to because she would be more favored by the fans, or maybe it would be more beneficial to her in some way, shape, or form. Maybe she felt like she can add to the breakdown even more when it came to somebody like Sutton and gain some type of, again, popularity or more notoriety as the one being loved because she came and stood on the right team, child. I don't know. But I just feel like it was giving, you was definitely over there crossing your T's and dotting your I's on how you were going to approach this situation. And so she said intertwining into the show is very different than just watching, because you think the emotions amongst the ladies are, just overplayed or played up and exaggerated, she said, but they're very real. And you learn these things because you spend so much time together. And so Andy then brings up the fact that Bose lost her home in the California fire, which absolutely sucks. But I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I found that very interesting at that moment. I did. And I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna leave it right there. And so she says she's devastated and trying to figure out the next steps on whether she wants to build or not. It's been a process for her, fighting with the insurance companies and trying to get the debris off the land and all the things. And so we move on to her love life with Applehead. Don't he got an Applehead? I'm sorry. I don't think that's the worst thing to say, but he does. But I'm like, well, is it nice to call him Applehead? Because he hasn't really done anything, besides showing up and just been there. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a figure there. But, and let me not say that, okay? She enjoys him for her own reasons and he's good to her, which matters. But I still want to know what was interesting about them again. Well, apparently we're going to be on the top of interesting. What on the, okay, let me not be tongue tied. Since we're going to be on the topic of interesting, what exactly was interesting about them, I ask? Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments, okay? So she says people feel like her and Keely are a mixed bag because, or there's a mixed bag maybe of how people feel, because some feel like there were red flags, especially considering the fact that there were no I love yous exchanged, yet and still they're trying to procreate, which is one of the biggest things you can ever do in life. And so she shares her fertility journey, and she says she was very vulnerable and not fond of what people had to say. But that's the risk you run when you join a major platform, right? And to me, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would like to think you have to have some tough skin to be able to rock and roll in this world with people viewing you and scrutinizing your every move and everything else in between and having a whole lot to say. Even if you are that girl, people are going to find ways to make you seem like you're not. And if you're not that girl, you're not going to want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Or if you have your ways or whatever, like she said, it just kind of got to her, right? And so Andy asked, what drew her to Dorit? And I said, thank you, Andy, for that question as well, because that's something I've been wondering this whole season. And she begins to share how she met with Garcel pre-taping because she wanted to get the tea. And she said Garcel wouldn't give her anything, which she can appreciate because Garcel wanted her to make her own assessment of the ladies. And I'm like, well, that's exactly how it should be. And so she said that Dorit was open at Sutton's party, that season kickoff party, when Dorit wore that silly plastic thing disc on top of her head. And, she said she was open too. Dorit was open. I was open. So I guess that was what's connected them. So I said, because y'all were open with each other, you decided that you were going to defend her to your last breath, because that's what it turned into. And I'm like, all of these characteristics and qualities we've seen and had to endure for years, you ain't see any of that. You just saw, oh, she's open. I'm going to jump in head first. So Andy reads past comments of Kyle and Garcelle just saying how all over Dorit and Bose were on each other. And Dorit says that was pathetic. And I said, no, Dorit, was pathetic as you still be on this platform, as you're beyond insufferable and extremely boring. And we did watch y'all on top of each other for the season. It was weird and it was giving thirsty. Okay. And so we see a flashback from the after show where Bose said perhaps it was jealousy that she gravitated to Dorit and not them, meaning Garcelle and Sutton. And I said, well, perhaps it was strategy, like I said. And so Garcelle says, not at all. And I agree too, because as I stated prior, it seems to me that your plan coming into the show all along um, was to, be strategic. You know what I'm saying? So now that we know that you watched beforehand. And so Garcelle says she didn't like how one of the beach setting outings that they had, that it was just Dorit and Bose engaged in conversation for like an hour exclusive of the other ladies. Me personally, I wouldn't have cared. And and she said for the past 5 years, everyone has always gotten on her and Sutton being so close. And so Andy's like, well, if people have had an issue with you two being friends, for lack of better words, which he was saying, he said, wouldn't you understand Dorit and Bose's sitch? And Garcelle said, well, the difference is that she didn't go on and on and on about why and how they were friends. Bose said there were many times that Garcelle did that. And I said, well, she must have done it off camera because I certainly didn't see it. And y'all can let me know if I'm wrong and what I missed. And so Bose says what annoyed her, which just as equally annoyed me, her even making this comment, is that there was this belief she was being manipulated by Dorit and it insulted her. And she said, particularly to Garcelle, if you thought for 1 second there's something Dorit could say to me which can influence my opinion of you, then that means you don't think very much of yourself. And I said, well then, but what does it say about you to come on the show and latch like a parasite to someone you don't even know and then decide you're going to ride or die for them? Like, what about that? Do you not think of yourself in a better light to be able to stand confidently alone and get to know everyone fairly and equally? I'm just asking. Okay? So they go ahead and show Garcelle's package. And you can tell Sutton was a bit uncomfortable on the footage about Kyle's undeserving loyalty from her. But Andy leads the charge by mentioning that Erika had said on another platform, here we go, on another platform, I think it was like Entertainment Tonight or something, that she wanted to see more from Garcelle and Sutton's life. Okay? First of all, we know that statement made, I didn't even see it, and I'm sure that was so shady in every regard, because it's like, girl, since when do you really care enough about enough about Garcelle or Sutton to know what's going on in their life? No, you don't care. That was you impliedly stating they're boring. Okay, so yeah, no. Garcelle says not much is happening. She's had like one date and she's shown all that there is to see. So she was asking Erika pretty much like, what more do you want to see? And this heifer says, I just wish you were more interesting, I guess. Child, you know how she says things just as cold as ice? I said hard shade, ouch shade. Right? And I said, but Erika, because this brings me back to the question at the initial the top of my video. What made you interesting this season? Tell me. I'd like to know. Tell me. Share. Do share, please. Let me know. Fill me in. Okay? Because what else did you give other than your house being remodeled, and who gave up about that? I mean, what else was there? You only had a stellar season, and that's a debatable term, in the years prior because your ex husband was nickel and diming people. Allegedly, but proven, but allegedly. And I'll just say that for fun, just secure myself, okay? Who are you dating? What are you doing that's so exciting when you're not on Dorit's lap and all on Sutton's, okay? Riding her to the wheels fall off. So miss me with it all, girl. Miss me with it all because you gave nothing other than your usual. You gave nothing. Sutton is and has been your storyline. What else did you give, girl? Maybe y'all can let me know on the dance floor because I missed it. And so Morgan comes up again, of course, and Kyle's just getting into all the things of how Morgan has anxiety and she ain't signed up for this, so she ain't want to put her on display and blah, 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 blah. And Kyle told Garcelle she was very hurt by what she saw on the show and called her an a-hole in the after show because of it. And so Kyle told Garcelle that she's come to her off camera to discuss some things, and Garcelle's like, well, why did you come to me off camera? Kyle says, because I thought you were my friend. which I thought was like a strange answer. But yeah, obviously she was masking whatever it was that she said. That apparently, if we use our context clues, about Morgan. And so Garcelle completely puts Sutton on the spot, throws her under the bus, in my opinion, and asks her what she said once Kyle walked away. When Kyle said what she said off camera. And you can tell Sutton searching cautiously for her words. And she said that Kyle just wants to protect Morgan. And Garcelle said, that's not what you said. I was like, oh, Lord, child, no, don't do it in front of the girls. She said, that's not what you said. You said that was a chess move. And so now you got the ladies, oh, Y'all got to let me know what I missed yet again. I mean, I think maybe I would just be too tired when I'm watching these things. I'm like, and the big deal again was it's a chess move. And apparently Kyle got all worked up for that too, or from that comment too. And she says, you know, the nerve to say at that the two of them together are mean girls. And I was like, oh, look at you trying to switch the narrative because you've been reading the comments and the Twitters of everybody else you've been checking their page and information or having people check that been calling y'all mean girls from the start because y'all are. So now you want to turn it around. That's a mess. And well, Kyle, let me say this. If they're mean girls, if Sutton and Garcelle are classified as mean girls, well, maybe you and your crew, the Fox Force 550,000, whatever y'all are, okay? Maybe y'all are certified devils then, okay? For how y'all operate, because the devil is deceitful, he's calculated, he's a gaslighter, he's cruel, he's unforgiving, he causes dissension, and he pretends to care to your face, but his heart is as black as ice, and so on and so forth. I can keep going on, okay? And y'all exude very much that. And so Garcelle said they even joked about the Morgan situation at Chuck E. Cheese. Like, listen, girl, if you're a les, then just be a les, okay? And that's the point. Kyle called her an a-hole apparently in the after show, and then said at the reunion on the stage that she felt like when Garcelle did that, she did that intentionally, like she was trying to hurt her or out her or harm her in some type of way with that. And Garcelle was like, no, I did not. I was honestly just trying to encourage you to live your life. And so we finally go a little deeper with this whole Sutton not having Garcelle's back. The night Garcelle asked Kyle about Morgan, and Sutton didn't say a word because Kyle said Garcelle was more so mad at Sutton because Sutton didn't go after Kyle with Garcelle. So Garcelle was low key plotting, I guess, to get at Kyle, and Sutton apparently was supposed to get on the bandwagon or jump on the bandwagon. And Sutton said she just respected Kyle's feelings not to talk about Morgan, and Garcelle says she didn't. And I feel like what she did, because we saw it again when y'all were sitting with each other before the night of that dinner, that all white dinner, and she told you she's not going to bring it up because she didn't want to make Kyle angry. So again, I say repetitively, you already knew what it was when you signed up. Okay? You already knew what it was going into it. She told you she wasn't going to say anything. So you were not in the dark with that. You took the risk. Maybe from there you should have been like, well, you know what? Then I ain't going to say nothing. So you really not going to say nothing? All right, fine, then forget it because I'm not about to sit up here and say something and be looking crazy by myself. No, you decided and opted to go and hit that green light on your own. So you got to eat that, Garcelle, like for real. But I will say the ride for Kyle vibe that Garcelle is perplexed by was definitely present with Sutton in this moment. And it's not like it's the first time we've seen it, but you can just kind of tell. And what got me was when the boat incident came up and Kyle says how Garcelle sat silent, Jennifer sat silent, but then Garcelle looked at her and said that, she should have had Sutton's back because you're important to her. To which Kyle says, again, I say the part that got me, that's not my effing problem. I said, oh, Sutton, are you paying attention? Did you hear what she said? Did you hear what her said? So her coming to your defense was not her fucking problem. Or the fact that she's important to you is not her fucking problem. Okay. So again, I need you when people speak, I need you to pay attention because people are going to show you exactly who you are and what's living on the inside of them. Okay. Never be fooled by that. And now rewinding back, Garcelle said she didn't speak up on Sutton's behalf because she knew if she said one word, they'd be like, oh, she's sticking up for Sutton. And I'm like, well, Garcelle, but that's not true. In that moment, because you made it plain and clear out your own mouth that you didn't stuck up for Sutton and have her back in that moment because you were pissed and annoyed because she didn't have your back the prior night. That was the only reason. Nothing else. Okay. Why we didn't hear that then if that was the case? So I'm like, no, Garcelle, let's continue to keep it a bean. I know you're capable of doing that most often than not. So let's not fall back now. Okay. Let's not backpedal now. And so Kyle said it hurt her. And apparently Garcelle apologizes. Dorit just has to give her 2 cents and says that's why she gravitated to Bose because Bose was very real and she didn't have to question it ever. And I'm like, question whatever. Y'all have been friends for like 2 days. And it was also so that it would make your image look better. Okay. In my opinion, that's why you gravitated towards her. Okay. To someone like Bose for quite a few reasons, but I'm going to let y'all do the math on that. And so Bose is sitting up there doing all this smiling. And I'm like, okay, girl, well, best wishes to you with that woman and all that she truly entails because you are going to learn. Okay. PK laid down the foundation, right? When he made that statement, he lays next to her every night when he wasn't in London 50 million, 11 times trillion. Okay. And so he knows her better than all of y'all know her, and he's giving you the tea. So you have been warned, Bose. Okay. You have been fully warned. And I'm trying to figure out why Andy said or read a viewer question about Dorit's thoughts on what Garcelle had to say about her break in. I'm like, that's such old news. We've already dissected this, and it's not even really that interesting at this point. And so, performative Dorit rears her head, and Garcelle says because she felt like it was a setup. And I'm like, yeah, you in about 95% of the world, and Dorit's a liar. So, there's that. Okay. And again, many people felt that way, not just the 4 people Dorit on Twitter. Okay, so girl, I don't know what you talking about. And I love how she broke down how Garcelle didn't consider how that made her, PK, or her family feel. And I'm like, but girl, hold on, and hold on. I need you to take all that smoke, okay? Roll it up and marinate on it. Because did you consider her or her son's feelings when you thought it was comical that Erika disrespected her son that one season? When you were sitting up there laughing with your husband and laughing with Kyle and laughing with Mauricio about it. And then when Garcelle let you know it hurt her feelings, you still didn't take it seriously. And then at one point told her that she needed to be over it by then. Okay. Would your little feelings have been hurt? And would you have been parading around town telling everybody who'd be willing to listen if someone did that to your little Jaggy and your daughter? How would you feel about that? You got annoyed when Sutton cut you off to hit the road when you were talking about what Jag had discovered online or what. You didn't even like that. So, girl, and as sensitive as you like to be and the victim you like to play, girl, you would be pissed and lighting the city on fire. So relax on the theatrics, okay? And so they keep going back and forth, but I did want to stop at the part where Dorit was questioning Garcelle about the fact that she would even say that she thought it was a setup because she said, in other words, Garcelle was implying that PK is a sociopath who doesn't give a about his family whatsoever. And I said, well, you're the one who said that he's not a good father. I mean, and clearly he's been tired of yours and ain't really thinking about you. So and here comes best friend Bose to save the day on how Garcelle's accusations are just so terrible. So terrible. You have no proof. You have no proof. That's just so terrible to say. So terrible. And I hope again Bose ends up eating all that boo boo when it comes to Dorit one day. I really do. I truly do from the bottom of my heart. Oh, I do, I do, I do. And they break for lunch. Did y'all peep where Dorito almost tripped on them flight of steps? I was like, okay, clean up your life, girl. That's a sign. Anyways, Sutton goes to check on Garcelle, and also Bose and Dorito are in their trailer. And of course, Bose is again repeating how, you know, she can't believe Garcelle would say that's a setup and you can't say those things without repercussions, blah, blah, blah. And so Garcelle is tight about Erika coming for her. Especially, I think she made it known in that moment when they were on stage because she thought that her and Erika were good. Girl, I don't know why you would ever think you would be good with someone like Erika. Like, girl, what? Honey, I think of all the people, and I would even take trusting Dorit's emotions over Erika's. I would never put my trust in Erika. Are you kidding me? I would take it for what it is. We go out, we have the drinks, and we leave it right there. And that's that on that. Okay? So she pretty much starts reading. I said, come through Garcel. Come through Garcel. She said, what are you mad? I don't have anything interesting to present pretty much because I'm not a criminal. In other words, like your man was, and and wasn't connected to this stuff like Erika was. She was like, because, I didn't have a husband to hand me something on a silver platter. I'm self made. I had to work for what I have. Is that why I'm not interested? I said, come on, girl. And whatever else she said, I loved it. Only thing I didn't love is that obviously I wish she would have said that in that moment and had all that smoke for Erika on stage. That would have been the best response. Okay. When she tried to play you, but so it is. And I'm not even gonna lie, I can see Garcel's frustrations overall with everyone, and I feel like she's genuinely tried to give everybody a chance. She really has, even when she shouldn't have, because I don't understand her continuing in some ways sometimes with Dorit. She did. She sees Kyle for who and what she is, but she tried to give her a shot. Erika, like I said, I wouldn't dare fool with, but she did. So it's just like, and they still all gave her their to kiss, but you shouldn't have to keep subjecting yourself to nonsense when you know the caliber of women you've had to deal with year in and year out. And then there's the nerve to add a new one to the mix who hasn't helped the dynamic at all, but made things worse, in my opinion. Yeah, I'd be good off of that too. And I'd be piecing out and using all my good old gosh darn energy on the things that matter. That's why I'm so glad that Garcelle is a jack of all trades and has so many other things lined up. First of all, Garcelle has been doing it. Garcelle has been that girl since before I was born. Okay, Garcelle has been no joke in these streets. And so, even one of my freaking favorite movies of all time, and that was made, what I think, in 1988. Garcelle was in that movie, and that's Coming to America. She was one of the Flower Girls. And then she was in the remake that they did a couple of years ago. So it's like, don't play with her. Y'all know her from the Jamie Foxx show. And again, I listen, her credentials are countless. Okay. I don't even want to do her that disservice. Her modeling career, all the things. We've seen her in other movies and this, that, and the third. So it's like, don't play for her. Don't play with her. And I feel like, again, Garcelle has definitely, she had us excited, or had me excited, and I know many others, when she first appeared on Beverly Hills. That is what prompted me to watch, because I've always just loved her and everything that she's done. I felt like she's always held herself with grace and style, and I was excited to see what she would bring, and I thought she brought fabulousness. I really did. Maybe, it could be questioned or could be up for discussion, the fact that maybe she didn't seem as interesting anymore, but I was quite fine with her. I really was. I still felt like she spoke when she needed to and didn't when she didn't. Was this season the most exciting? Maybe not per se, but listen, to everything there is a season, and her season has come, it's ended, there's an expiration date to it all, and I'm just wishing her the best, nothing but the best. I'm curious to know where her and Sutton will land in their friendship. I feel like that they'll be okay, especially now that she'll be off the show. They're gonna have a good sit down, talk down, drag out, drag in, and I think that they'll get it right. Sutton, at first, I kind of was thinking she'll be all right without Garcelle there if she does return next season, because she started to get into this groove and learn how to defend herself a little more. But then again, all that went out the window when she was sitting up here on the reunion in the break too. I don't know if y'all saw, who was she talking to? Somebody, was it Kyle? I don't know. And she was just like, yeah, I was about to cry or so. I'm like, Sutton, okay, just forget it. Now we going backwards. Let me just cut this off. Okay. So I don't know about Sutton, y'all. Like I said, and I ain't gonna be there to watch. All right, but I will be back next week to give y'all my thoughts on reunion part 2. I hope that this video found you in good spirits. And if it didn't, I hope that I said something to lift your spirits up just a little bit. Okay? Because it's definitely all love. I'm sending y'all a social hug. Maybe you need one today. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you don't want one. Like, girl, if you don't get back. Okay? But anyways, I appreciate y'all so much. I really do. I look forward to seeing y'all on my dance floor because the music is on. The dance floor is lit. Don't be no prude and hold up the wall. Say what you got to say. Do your two-step, do your spin, your twirls, as Kenya would say. Twirl, twirl, twirl. Do what you got to do. Okay, because I want to see y'all and meet y'all there. I appreciate y'all so much. Until we meet again, y'all know what to do. Y'all stay up. Y'all stay blessed. And I'm out. Peace.